Meanwhile, Russia has struck Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, with one of its largest missile and drone attacks of the war. At least 14 people were killed in the assault. Over 100 more were wounded. Ukraine says Russia launched more than 440 drones and 32 missiles. President Zelenskyy has called it one of the most horrific attacks on the capital since the start of the war.
After 3 years, the war has finally landed on this man's doorstep. His home has been destroyed and his son is possibly still trapped in the remnants. Part of this apartment block was brought to the ground in a direct hit, just one of 27 locations struck across Kyiv in a massive overnight aerial attack.
I was asleep. There was a loud bang. The window was smashed and glass rained down on me.
I heard everything crashing down around me. I had a panic attack. Those terrifying sounds made me feel like I was saying goodbye to life.
It was probably the most hellish night in my memory for our neighbourhood. I had a very difficult night. And now, mentally, I'm with the people whose homes were damaged.
Residents are traumatised and rescuers now face the gruelling task of trying to find those trapped alive. Officials say around 2,000 emergency services personnel are working across the city.
A ballistic missile penetrated the building so deeply that it even broke through the concrete structures in the basement. Search dogs have arrived to help find people as quickly as possible if anyone is trapped under the rubble.
Residential buildings, schools and critical infrastructure were all hit, he said, and residents are asking themselves why.
I've never seen anything like this. It's horrible. It was all horrible. I don't know how much Russians want to torture us. We're innocent civilians. What do they want from us? It's beyond me.
Russia's defence ministry said its forces carried out high-precision strikes on military sites and said they hit their intended targets.
Let's go now to DW correspondent Nick Connolly in Kyiv for more. Nick, one of the worst bombardments since early 2022. Tell us more about this overnight attack.
I think, Nicole, this is about people in Kyiv rightly, for the most part, knowing and thinking that they are better protected than the rest of the country. These kind of mass casualty events where you have a whole residential building basically collapsing under the impact of a missile, that is something that is an everyday occurrence in Kharkiv and Zaporizhia, places close to the front lines, places that don't have the air defences that Kyiv does. But we are seeing with Russia sending so many of those Shahed drones that are now faster and harder to shoot down, and then following that with cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, that some of them do get through. That the kind of pictures that everyone has seen from that residential building, the family, the parents of a boy believed trapped under the rubble that went all around people's social media earlier today, that was the result of just one cruise missile that had got through, one of 16 that hadn't been shot down. The other 15 had all been shot down, but they can't be everywhere all the time. Ukraine has a very limited stock of those missiles, the interceptor missiles, and is having to make a decision every time. Do we use our stocks or do we wait for the next attack?
Now, the Ukrainian president was scheduled to meet Donald Trump at the G7 summit in Canada. Zelenskyy is there, but Trump is not. Before he left, Trump complained about Russia being kicked out of the group. How is all of that being read in Kyiv?
It's obviously a blow. We've seen Zelenskyy trying in recent months to make up to repair relations to Donald Trump after the falling out in the Oval Office earlier in the year. We saw seemingly some successful efforts in that direction at the last Pope's funeral in the Vatican recently, and there was the hope there would be more of that. Right now, people in Ukraine do not expect Donald Trump to provide the kind of support, anything like it, of the kind that they saw under Biden. But what they hope for is some kind of soft divorce, where the US continues giving intelligence to Ukraine, where it also sells Ukraine air defense munitions and systems, things that otherwise on the kind of open market, Ukraine would have to wait years and years to be supplied with. Even if they're going to have to pay, that is something they're willing to do. But right now, they're not even sure if Donald Trump is willing to offer that kind of level of support, or if for him, Ukraine is just no longer a priority. We've already seen air defense missiles that were meant to come here being sent to the Middle East. So there's a real sense that this story, these attacks are being ignored, are being sidelined, and that that not just the attention but also the resources are being sent to the Middle East.
Support and solidarity did come from Canada, though. They pledged military support for Ukraine. Is this then, bottom line, a successful trip for Zelenskyy after all?
I think it's neutral. He had to be there. He had to try it. Obviously, this support from Canada is welcome and it is significant, but it is in no way of a similar scale to what Ukraine could potentially get, even if it's paying for it from the US in terms of technology. There is just no other country that can meet those needs in a similar way. But there is certainly skepticism here in Ukraine and worry that the European nations are waiting for Donald Trump rather than just forging ahead and saying, we will impose more sanctions on Russia, we will do more, and then see if Trump joins us. There is a real worry that the Europeans are letting themselves basically be forced into waiting or just distracted by Trump and his ever-changing agenda. And there is a real impatience here to see whether European leaders are actually now going to get on things and see if they can make the economic price for Russia really more painful and not just wait until Donald Trump decides to engage with this issue.
That's DW's Nick Connolly reporting from Kyiv. Thank you so much.